Number 10. Game Boy shoes. I'm not the most fashionable guy on the planet. I'm just a simple guy who likes simple things. So you can understand my shock, my horror, and my confusion when I saw the Game Boy shoes. Yes, that's right. Remember the Game Boy? Picking a starter Pokemon for the first time. That was a really serious choice. The very same portable console that changed your childhood could now sit snug as a bug in your platform shoe. I have several issues with this. One, can someone send me a working Game Boy? I miss those games, man. Come on, those are really cool. I want one. Number 2, it just looks ugly. No shot you roll up to somebody's house with those bad boys and they go, yeah, you're cool, dude. You look great. You don't. Number 3, maybe this is fine to wear in sunny California, but in Canada, the Game Boy would spend most of its time in snow. Or puddles. I couldn't do that to such a beautiful piece of gaming history. I would never forgive myself. Number 9, the potty putter. This was ridiculous. Golf. The sport for wealthy businessmen across the world and for every schmuck who wishes they could get into the clubhouse. That's me. I like the clubhouse. It's cool. I don't mind a round of golf, but I'm more excited for the ice cold beers during the day. It's why I prefer mini golf. What can I say? I like the simple things in life. So maybe I should get a potty putter. A miniature golf set for the bathroom. Just what everyone needs. Me to spend more time in the bathroom, hog out the toilet. Sorry boys and girls. Complete with green, putter, 2 golf balls, and a little hole with a flag. Now you can practice your putt and grout the tile at the same time. I'm not sure where to begin with this, but if there's anything to be said, it's that toilet time is toilet time. I don't think I have to tell you guys how unsanitary sharing a golf club in the bathroom is. Ooh, stinky. But hey, at least it comes with a do not disturb sign so people know you're getting your practice in. Ooh, better not disturb Dad. He's on back of the whole 9 and he's about to put it in for a good one there. He's about to put her in there. Number 8, floppy disks. Going with a lot of tech today, but stuff like this defined the later half of the century. Why are floppy disks on this list? Well, because it was arguably just as important as the PCs that revolutionized computers. And it's silly to think that how storage that small was so useful. Storage on floppy disks varied from different models over the years, but for an example, one model held 1.44 megabytes. Today in 2022, we are arguably in the beginning of the terabyte era. Now, try putting more than 5 AAA games on your Xbox, am I right? Gigabytes just aren't enough anymore. Now, if you crunch some numbers, a 1 terabyte flash drive has over 1 million MG, which, if we do even more math, is just under 700,000 floppy disks to our modern equivalent. The math is a little rough, but my point is clear. We've come a long way. Well, turns out that they were still somewhat being used up until 2019. I know, that's what I said. The US and whatever mysterious forces are in charge of nuclear weapons were still using them up until 2019. I feel like that's the wrong thing to put in charge of nuclear weapons. A floppy disk for nukes? That just feels like a bad idea. Number 7. Dial P for Palpatine. I just wanted to give you guys some more Palpatine. I think you guys really like it. But something that I don't know if our viewers experienced, but let us know if you did. This is kind of interesting actually, but the creation of 911. Honestly, what did people do before that? Pick up the phone and like, operator, help! Help, my house is on fire! Okay, sir, hold on, we'll just connect you. Okay, thanks. This is the fire department. Help, help, my house is on fire! Well, thanks to the totally non-corrupt and fairly priced AT&T, a nationwide number was decided to be the best for dialing emergencies and not waiting for an operator or any other option like screaming for help. A senator made the first 911 call on February 16, 1968, which sounds like a long time ago, and it is, but it also kinda isn't. I don't know, that's kinda weird. Number 6, I am the destroyer of worlds. I mean, this is kind of a big one, literally. It's the reason why there hasn't been a World War III since, or why there will never be a World War IV, because there would just be nothing left. What am I talking about, of course? Jello mold foods. Nah, I'm just kidding, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about nuclear weapons with the capabilities to wipe out an entire city with the flip of a button. Part of the super secret Manhattan Project, the goal was to make a weapon so destructive that whoever was unfortunate enough to catch a case of the super weapon would surrender immediately. Japan would unfortunately be on the receiving side of this, and shortly thereafter surrendered World War II. Imagine though, the power to level an entire city in just a few seconds. It's something unthinkable just a few years before. Some might even call it an act of biblical proportions. And you wouldn't be that far off either. Number 5, only us humans. Human beings, smart, intelligent, loving creatures, right? Well, the ones I like to be around are, and I hope the ones around you are too. Okay, where am I going with this? Well, I think we can all agree that war sucks, right? Look at Ukraine and Russia right now. What I think a lot of people don't think about is war logistics, what goes into a war effort. Every bootstrap, backpack, and bullet fired has to be counted and shipped. The weirdest thing, or perhaps the worst thing that we've done, is mass produce small arms. The automat Kalashnikov needs no introduction. You've seen it in movies, games, and all over the news in the last 60 years. An effective, cheap, and reliable tool that's the backbone of insurrections across the world and probably will be for many years to come. The point I'm trying to make is that we can create and make such beautiful things, but so much time has gone into destroying one another. Kalashnikov is unfortunately really good at doing that. In some black markets of the third world countries, they go for as little as $100 US. It is estimated that of every firearm ever made, 1 in 5 is a Kalashnikov. Number 4. I wanted one. It should come as no surprise that my persona is that of a lumberjack. I like relaxing after a long day. I'm big and I like beer. That's how it goes. While certainly not the manliest man, you'd never find me at a My Little Pony convention. I'm just not going there. Where am I going with this? Well, if you were a young girl growing up, there's a chance you had an easy bake oven. Yes, that's right. I, Big Ched, wanted an easy bake oven. But as a young man, I was embarrassed to have pink. I mean, come on, I can't have pink. It's pink. Even though now I'd be totally fine with pink. I like pink cars. I think they look cool. I was a tubby kid and just wanted some brownies with icing. Can you blame me? No, you can't. However, there is something about giving your kid a little oven that's, well, strange. There's no way I should have been given anything sharp, let alone an oven. Yes, I know they're pretty safe, but still, it's a weird concept and weird thing to bring up in the boardroom for an idea. Guy walks in the room and he's like, kids, ovens, fires, put them together. What do you got? $1 million idea, let's go. Number 3. Didn't sell very well, boy. I doubt many people would remember this, and in Nintendo's defense, they usually know what they're doing. Sometimes. I know I'm talking about gaming stuff again, but besides making you guys laugh, it's like the only other passion I have, man. The Virtual Boy. I wouldn't expect many to have seen it since the sales were so poor, since the console was so poor. The Virtual Boy was a 32-bit portable console that was basically a headset, except, you know, there's no straps to put it on your head, but a stand so you can play games while you sit or while you're prone. I guess that would have been cool if there was like a sniper game or something, but for classic Nintendo side-scrolling action, it doesn't really make any sense. The main selling point was the graphics. The Virtual Boy was capable of 3D, which was huge for the time. Except, it was stereographic 3D and monochrome red. Watching footage of the gameplay gives me a headache just looking at it, so I can see why laying down on your living room floor for a while, playing it would just suck. It just wouldn't be good. Number 2, Electronic Cafe. This is going to sound weird to anyone born after 1995, but there used to be internet cafes. Yeah, I know, there's some that still exist, but it's just a weird concept. Hi, come on in, where you can order a coffee and browse the World Wide Web with your sticky keys. And that's not because of a typo. There's just something about sharing a PC with the whole city that rubs me the wrong way. Because I know for a fact there's some dudes in there who are rubbing themselves the wrong way in the cafe. In the 90s, when PCs were becoming a mainstay in homes and offices, some folks just didn't have one yet. Or if they did, had full access to the internet. Do you remember the dial-up sound? Ooh, sound of nightmares. So coming to a place to access such modern technology made sense in the 1990s and even the early 2000s. However, in 2022, when everyone has a supercomputer in their pocket, not so much. Smartphones are really cool. It's actually pretty cool technology. Number 1, the Infomercial King. Not the first to do it and won't be the last, but he may be the best. As a kid growing up in the late 90s, watching TV on a Sunday afternoon made a few things certain. I was going to have my snackies and juice. I was going to ponder what a house hippo was. I was going to be yelled at by a man with enough charisma to use OxyClean. Yes, the famous infomercial featuring the late Billy Mays. There was just something charming about his performance that made you want to clean stains easily. Infomercials are a way to shove products down your throat. Call now, but wait, there's more. 3 easy payments of $19.99. Sell, sell, sell. With infomercials, they aren't just selling you a product, they are selling the infomercial themselves. It just wouldn't be as effective if the ShamWow guy wasn't weird about his peanuts on ice cream. That's just how it goes. Number 10, the hula chair. Here's another gem from the depths of the infomercial vault of nonsense, and seriously, there's a lot. Look, as a Canadian, we still love consumerism. Sure, but not as much as the United States, but there's still a lot of mom and dad sitting on the couch every Saturday with the fat credit card, just waiting for the next life-changing product to come across the screen. So that means we get to see those awful infomercials too. You're not alone, Americans. That includes the hula chair, the latest mechanized weight loss product that promises to keep you in shape with minimal effort. I should be the spokesman. Well, sign me and the rest of America up, baby, because the hula chair is a motorized chair that swivels to keep you moving while sitting. Something like this, a little hula movement for you, something like that, wow. Demonstrations of the chair show multiple speeds, the fastest looking more like a violent throwing than weight loss, and well, no surprise it doesn't work, and they're just not really around anymore. For good reason. Number 9, are you winning, son? Is something your dad and every dad has said when checking on their kid playing games on a Sunday afternoon. Naturally, not knowing what a video game is or what a Pikachu does is just part of being a dad. However, next time dad decides to go on one of his fishing trips, you should surprise him with the Game Boy Fish Finder. Yeah, I know, another Game Boy gadget, but I had to. Every dad says they caught the big one, and they're not talking about your mom. But now dad can see them coming. Imagine spending hours in the summer sun on a lake with your dad, and the only thing that was distracting you from his developing drinking issue is now being used to find fish. Sometimes Nintendo likes to do weird stuff. Remember when the Wii came out? It was kind of weird. Loved it though. But a fish finder? This is only something a 90s fever dream could come up with. I'm just not sure about that one. Number 8, the Edge of Glory. This is another case of excellent marketing through cheesy commercials at 2 a.m. The Edge of Glory is a knife sharpener that promises to take all of your old kitchen knives and turn them into a samurai's blade. Okay, not an actual katana, but the sharpness of one. As Anthony Sullivan demonstrates in the infomercial, there's nothing it can't do. Like I said before, the Edge of Glory is just clever marketing. It doesn't do anything that other whetstones or blade sharpeners don't do, and there's no way they're going to outperform the competitor at 3 easy payments of $29.99. So call now. No, I'm just kidding. It's on this worst invention list because they slapped a new name on something that already exists, and plus, it's probably made a lot cheaper than the real stuff, and they're just begging you to bust out your credit card. So yeah, that's why it's on here. Makes sense. Number 7, the Euro Club. Back to the golf inventions because Dad, sure. Okay, let's make a scenario. It's July long weekend, and you're spending time on the golf course like all the other dads who don't want to spend time with their families. It's hot out, so you've been slamming back beers like a frat party. Plus, the older guys just want to see the beer girl come back with another round. Gross. Beer guys can be gross sometimes. Anyway, it's a busy day and you're playing between groups. All of a sudden, you have to use the washroom, but walking all the way back to the clubhouse is not an option. Thank goodness you have your Euro Club, the discreet and sanitary option for urinating on the golf course. God damn, it's gross. A thick-handled golf club fits right into your bag with the others, but it's actually a portable washroom. Look, I get it, cute idea, but I'm a man, and I know men. We'd rather just go find a bush, complete with a thick golf club and a little blanket to put over yourself so you have a little bit of privacy while you do your business. We should have one for the gym. You don't want to get a dumbbell or something, you know what I mean? See, now there's an idea. That's a smart idea, one for the gym. Number 6, Skinny's Instant Lifts. Okay, so the Edge of Glory is shifty. It's shady, but at least it has the potential to sharpen your blades, which I think we can all agree having dull blades sucks. See, I should be a spokesman. This is a product that's not only something you have in the home, but well, you probably have lots of it. Basically trying to pull the wool or the tape over consumers' eyes. To sum it up, Skinny's Instant Lifts are strips of adhesive tape that can fold, pull, and keep in place unwanted saggy skin, fat, and just the more flabby parts of the human body. We all get old. It happens. It's happening to me. I'm getting older. And we all don't look like we did when we were 18. I look pretty close, but I'm getting older. And we can all understand how people would hand cash over the table to look better, or look like they did when they were 18. Can you blame them? You can't. That being said, taping yourself up like a 3rd grade science project isn't going to help. So, in a nutshell, they're just trying to sell you Scotch tape. It doesn't... That's a terrible invention. Let me just tape myself up here. I'm ready for the party in a minute. Let me just pull all this in. Yeah. No. Number 5, chia. Chia Pets. I know everyone has heard of the Chia Pets. Shout out to all the gardeners out there. How are the strawberries growing this year? I hope good. Yeah. The Chia Pet is a terracotta pot filled with chia seeds that will eventually grow chia sprouts. The catch? The terracotta planter or base is almost always featuring some sort of recognizable icon. So when the chia grows, it resembles the hair, fur, or some sort of color contrasting part of that icon. Some include Chewbacca, Weird Al Yankovic, Donald Trump, Abraham Lincoln, Yoda, Baby Yoda, Scooby-Doo, SpongeBob, Shrek, Bob Ross, Homer Simpson, and many, many more icons, especially of Americana iconography. Whew, man, that's a mouthful. This one isn't the worst, because you need plants around the house. You gotta have some plants. It brings the house together. It's just hard to imagine folks dishing out dough for a cool terracotta pot and a commercial tune that everybody knows. Ch-ch-ch-chia. Number 4, shag carpet. On a personal level, I'm not a carpet guy. Chris, get your mind out of the gutter. Get your mind right out of that gutter, buddy. No. On a personal level, I'm not a carpet guy. I'm just too much of a man. Or at least that's what my mom says. Okay, sure, I spill food all over myself all the time, but I'm not that bad, ladies. Come on. I put the toothpaste cap back on after I'm done brushing my teeth, so I can't be that bad. I'm just a hardwood floor kind of guy. I think it looks nicer, it lasts longer, and is way easier to clean, especially when you got guys like me around. So you can understand why I put shag carpet on this list. Popularized in the late 60s and early 70s, there wasn't a home magazine around that didn't feature shag carpet. Known for its long fibers and wacky colors, the shag carpets resemble that of an animal hide that never stopped growing fur. Very popular with the hippie and free love crowds of the 60s and 70s, like I said, but it's hard to clean, ugly, and sometimes, strange enough, a tripping hazard. And I don't like that in the house. Tripping's bad. I feel the other day, it really hurt. I got a blister on my finger now, it's bad. Number 3, the lava lamp. Where would the 60s and 70s be without shag carpet and the lava lamp? It kinda goes hand in hand, along with the shag carpet. In another fad from that era, it seemed every college dorm around wasn't complete without one. That being said, they're more of an eye candy than a functional light. Invented by Edward Craven Walker as he was bored one day in a bar. So a lot of good ideas start. Sure, thanks Edward, but no one ever says, oh no, it's so dark in here, better turn on my lava lamp. You got my, right, thank you, perfect. Trouble is, to make that lava flow and that desired effect, it needs a heat source, which usually is done through a light bulb underneath the main canister of lava. Now, while most modern lava lamps are completely safe, the old ones? Well, you gotta be careful around older electronics like that, especially if you've ever seen Mythbusters. While the light bulb may not be enough heat to cause any issues, an external or excessive heat could render the lava lamp to erupt, and it's not good. See that episode of Mythbusters? Oh, it's not good. It's lethal, actually. Number 2, the Power Glove. The Power Glove. Could you really own anything more 80s than the Power Glove? The Power Glove was an accessory for the NES that allowed players to use motion controls on 2D games, complete with a retro sensor bar and number pad to input codes for your controller to work with the current game that you're playing. Well, the truth is, folks, it just sucked. It doesn't work properly, it gets sweaty and smelly easily because a lot of it's actually just a glove. At the time, there was no internet, so if you didn't have a code book or knew the code to input into the glove for your game, you literally couldn't use it to play the games that you wanted to use it for, thus rendering it useless, and I argue that's a bad invention. It's so silly. I'm playing with power! Number 1, Rob the Robot. Lastly, another NES accessory, except this one was for lonely Nintendo players. Basically, Rob the Robot was a second player when you didn't have one. He was battery operated and used a variety of spinning tops to push down buttons that you had, well, some control of to simulate the efforts of a second player. The issue here? Well, he requires both D and AA batteries. He's slow. Oftentimes, after extended use struggles to pick up the spinners he uses to input controls into the game. And he's officially only compatible with 2 games. Stack Up and Gyromite, which I can tell from the audience's silence right now that they've never played those games on the NES. Duck Hunt, Mario, Zelda. Stack Up? No, you didn't have Stack Up, don't lie, you didn't have it, you never had it.
Number 10, extinction. Neanderthal history dates back to around 430,000 years ago. We've always thought that their extinction was caused by some sort of event, some catastrophic wipeout of some sorts, you name it, and we're trying to pinpoint it every day. Not every day, but you get it. There's a new Netflix documentary called Ancient Apocalypse where Graham Hancock explains this very event. What wiped out early humans, and rather, what what's left of them. Very recently, a human tooth was discovered in a cave in southern France. Now, this tooth in question is from 54,000 years ago. Now, up until this point, we always thought Neanderthals went extinct around 40,000 years ago when modern humans started to roll in. But this new discovery could mean that the two species may have coexisted at the same time. Imagine that, you're going to work, you see a Neanderthal, you're like, hey, what's up? This is an odd 10,000 years, cool. Did modern humans wipe out Neanderthals? Maybe, I mean probably. Are Homo sapiens to blame for the extinction of Neanderthals? That would be crazy, imagine that. Meanwhile, I'm over here like, hey, hit that thumbs up button, cheers. Species are wiping out each other, this is crazy. Number 9, craftsmen. It doesn't matter how far back you go, art will always be around in some way, shape, or form. Literally, Neanderthal craftsmen would carry with them a pouch, and it would basically be a vandalism pouch. They could just go around and draw anything they wanted. And inside of it, it includes lithic flakes, sharp rock flakes basically to cut anything at any time. You had with them scrapers as well, which would be used to cut animal meat or carve wood. Pressure tools were also in there as well to sharpen said other tools. Just the first ever tool belt, essentially. Now, Neanderthals would use hard rock knapping and use striking techniques, and sometimes they would carve art. Neanderthal carvings were discovered in Unicorn Cave over in Germany recently. Archaeologists found 50,000-year-old deer bone with patterns carved into it with said tools. So either these guys were bored or they were expressing themselves via art.
Number 8, new Coca-Cola. To me, there's nothing better than sitting in the hot summer sun, slathered in sunscreen, in my Muskoka chair because I'm a Canadian, and beside me is an ice cold Coke. I love beer, but there's just something about it I love. Cheers, Coca-Cola fans. How are you doing? I'm doing great. Now, I like the original recipe the most. However, cherry and vanilla are great. I'm just a vanilla guy. During the 1980s, Coke made a bold decision and released a new Coke formula. It was a bold decade, so, had to make moves. In 1985, the new formula made it past testers, but when it reached the public, there was literal public outcry to bring back the old stuff. The good stuff. Only a few short months later, shelves are restocked with classic Coke, bringing back the old formula, which may have also been a genius marketing technique.
Number 7. The Pit of Bones. The Pit of Bones. Classic, great name. Located in northern Spain. Yeah, first of all, what a horrible, scary name that is. Imagine pitching this to the wife for a family trip. Yeah, we're going to the Pit of Bones. Grab your sandals. It's gonna be great. Since 1976, well over 6,000 human fossils have been collected from the Pit of Bones. They found around 28 individual Neanderthals in total, so maybe the Pit of Bones is actually a great name after all. Kinda nails it, I guess. The skeletons date back to around 430,000 years ago. Now, in terms of facial features, these are for sure Neanderthals. We can confirm them. Neanderthal lineage confirmed. Very old. That's so old. I can't even imagine. Number 6. Spears and arrows. Perhaps one of the most vital inventions, and one that we for sure still use today, is that of arrows and spears. They were a necessity, of course, back then when it came to hunting, and for people in the Stone Age, well, all they needed was wood, really. They would carve a leaf shape or a triangle at the tip, our modern day arrow, and they were used mainly by raiders or barefoot hunters. But when it came to hunting, you didn't want to get too close to your prey, right? Or else the wrong team would be claiming victory and then eating the other for lunch. So their solution was to throw these spears, or make really tiny ones. One of two. You can either javelin somebody really hard or hang back and, just shoot a big dude with an arrow. One of the two. It's gonna be a lose-lose probably. The oldest bows in history are from 9000 BC. Can you believe that? And they're home guard bows. And they're found in Northern Europe all the way from the Mesolithic period. The oldest spears, however, they come from Germany around 400,000 years ago. They're actually the oldest wooden artifacts in history. Imagine being the first person to make a spear. Forget iPhones. A spear? Buddy, you're a genius. Number 5. Medicine. You can only imagine the various injuries Neanderthals would have, right? Hunting down a mammoth or a bison 3 times the size of you, yeah, odds are you're gonna get a bruise or two. More than fair. So what did Neanderthals do at this point? Is that what the pile of bones is for? I'm starting to connect this. That makes more sense. God, that's dark. How did Neanderthals live for so long without a pharmacy, right? All that yelling, no halls? Are you kidding? My throat hurts doing this list already. Neanderthal medical skills are pretty similar to what our ancestors did. Herbal remedies, that's it, right? It changes your life. They manage fevers, but when the pain got too bad, chewing on a specific tree may have helped tolerate all that pain. Yeah, 4,000 years before penicillin, Neanderthals were chewing on aspirin. Number 4. forbidden friends. Lascaux cave paintings date back to some 17,000 years ago, and a lot of the art seen on the walls of the cave art that depicts animals. It's mostly pretty much all animals. It's beautiful. About 900 of them, with just over 600 being recently identifiable. There are cattle, bison, some wild cats, bears, birds, you name it, but there are no reindeer at all. What happened, right? Did they just forget about this one specific animal out of 900, although they ate reindeer meat almost every day? Well, it took a long time to realize, but our best guess as to why they were missing from all these works of art is because these animals are ones that they never caught. Yeah, these are animals that they would dream about, right? They were always afar, just running away. They could never hunt or catch them because at this time they were too fast or too strong. Plus, at this time, they didn't have certain weapons or tools available. Yet. More than fair. I would much rather draw a bison than have to tackle one. You know what I mean? Number 3, more art. Okay, here's where we're at with Neanderthals and art. First of all, we don't have an actual representational version of their art, but we do have symbolism, which is, some would argue, the same thing. That's pretty close. And just as fascinating, really. Especially when they look like this, when they look like a masterpiece in a cave. These are eagle talons. They're about 130,000 years old, and they're found at the Krapina Neanderthal site in Croatia. And researchers believe that they were part of a jewelry set, like earrings or a part of a necklace, something like that. I couldn't even make this now with a YouTube tutorial, let alone 130,000 years ago. This is mind-blowing. Number 2, flutes. Music has been in the air for quite a long time now, and Neanderthals enjoyed a flute every now and then, it seems. Yeah, they weren't playing We Three Kings or anything like that, but they were making music as early as 50,000 years ago. Incredible. I still can't even whistle 50,000 years later. The first instrument known to man was most likely our vocal cords, but the second instrument were the flutes of Geisenkloster Cave. They're the oldest musical instruments that have ever been discovered. They're made from bird bone and ivory of a mammoth. Yeah, so if it's any indication how old they are, they made music out of mammoth ivory. Yeah, take that, Skrillex. Finally, number 1, glass. Imagine making glass. Imagine being like, oh yeah, my dad makes glass. I don't know. He's a magician, I guess. Imagine making glass for the first time. You know what I mean? Like, you're a wizard. Even if you made glass now, I would think you're a wizard. Glass blowing shows on Netflix. I'm like, you're all wizards. How do you do this? Glass that was naturally occurring, like obsidian for example, that was around and used during the Stone Age. Man-made glass was first used around 6,000 years ago. Archaeologists are pitting Lebanon, North Syria, ancient Egypt, all as the birthplace of synthetic glass. The first use of man-made glass were beads. Yeah, imagine being the first person to rock beads. Ah, the confidence. A bead door? An ancient bead door? You would be a genius. Mid-2000s BC, guy glazes up some beads. What an icon. Like I said, art comes in many different shapes and sizes.
Number 10, Nintendo 64 disk drive. For youths everywhere in the 90s, nothing really compared to the Nintendo 64. Sure, Sega was trying and Sony's brand new PlayStation was making waves in the video game market. And it had great games too, but pound for pound, the Nintendo 64 had it all. Amazing single-player games and multiplayer that literally paved the way forward for other games of the future. I mean, just listen to these games. Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Super Smash Bros., Star Wars Rogue Squadron, GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, Banjo-Kazooie, Mario Kart 64, Mario Party, WWF No Mercy. That one's one of my favorites, brother. I mean, that is just a few of the games to mention. It truly was an amazing console, and for the first try at 3D, very, very impressive. Well, how could it be on this list then if it was so great, Chetty, you're probably saying to yourself? Well, in case you didn't know, in the late 90s, well, it was changing times and CD-ROMs were all the rage. This is why in secret Nintendo was developing an attachment for the Nintendo 64 that would play disc games. However, after a troubled development and skeptical sales, it was only released in Japan, like a lot of good things. This was not one of them, where it sold poorly as only 9 games were ever made for it, making one of the most beloved consoles of all time. Well, it left it with an ugly blemish on its legacy. Number 9, Aquanotes. It sounds strange, but a lot of good ideas come from the shower. Maybe it's the isolation, maybe it's the smell of Irish Spring, or a hot shower on a cold winter's day. Oh, it's one of my favorites. But for some strange reason, a lot of people's best ideas come to you in the shower. Who would have thought? For me, it's jokes. As a comedian, I'm always thinking about stuff like that, and I swear I've come up with some real gems in the shower. It's too bad though that when I get out of the shower I forget. Too bad when I get out of the shower I forgot. Oh man. Well, clearly I need the Aquanotes, a waterproof notepad so I can write down my thoughts and thinks without my Blue's Clues notepad getting waterlogged. Sounds great, right? Okay, sure, I guess it's helpful, but if I was using someone's shower and they had a notepad in their shower, well, it would be strange. Hey, sorry whoever uses this next. Shave my back hair and clog the drain. Sorry, XOXO. Just a weird invention. Just not good.
Number 8. Food supply. Hunting looks challenging today, let alone thousands of years ago. I'm sure a crossbow helps, but back then, not so easy. Neanderthals would of course have to hunt in order to eat and survive, but just what did they eat? Hardin Tartar hinted at their diet, and that diet being mussels, dolphin, seal, and tons of plants. Now this came to light after part of a seal's jaw was discovered in a Vanguard cave in Gibraltar. Now the jaw in question had man-made cut marks from tools that I mentioned earlier. So now we have a full picture. Now we can put a date on it.
Number 7. Red dye number 2. My mom was not the best cook on planet Earth. That's just the truth. However, hold on, everyone jumps all over me. Her baking was out of this world. Cookies, banana bread, cupcakes, Yorkshire puddings. I had to stay quiet during that one. She said they'd never rise if I didn't be quiet. You name it, Mama Chetty, she made it great. She used all kinds of ingredients, except for anything with red dye number 2. She always said it wasn't good for me, partially because I was, well, a little tanky kid and hyper, but also because during the late 70s she was told that a certain red dye number 2 was extremely harmful. Some scientists believed it was carcinogenic. The red dye was in a lot of stuff, plus who can blame them with a mouth-watering name like red dye number 2? I want some just thinking about it. M&M's were so concerned with the rumor that they removed red from their palette of colors for a whole decade. Maybe mom was onto something. Number 6. Sega Genesis add-ons. While the Nintendo 64 disk drive was ridiculous, the Sega Genesis add-ons were 100% ludicrous and way worse in my opinion. Mainly with 2 key add-ons, the Sega CD, which saw more use than the Nintendo 64 disk drive, with such classics like Night Trap, which I'm not even sure what to classify that game as. It's a sleepover, and you got there's cameras, there's burglar. It's weird, I don't know. But besides that cult classic, there really isn't anything on there. There was also the 32X add-on that works with all your 16-bit Sega games, but also can enhance and has a select library of updated games for the 32X or 32-bit era. Sega was trying to keep the Genesis alive, and with those sales, you can't blame them. Sonic sells, baby. However, without a total support of these add-ons, lack of games, and being sold separately, it just wasn't as popular as, well, the regular Genesis or as Sega would hope it to be. Also, not to mention, each add-on had to be separately powered, so that's 3 AC adapters you gotta plug in just to play on the couch with friends. Too much, dude. Too much. Number 5. The Go-Go Pillow. Okay, here's the scenario. You just sit down after a long day of work or school. You start flipping through TV stations, and then you see an infomercial with a dad sitting down on his couch after a long day, and he's trying to use his iPad, but it's out of his baby boomer capacity. That happens with technology sometimes. My mom, she needs help. So then a happy narrator introduces the Go-Go Pillow, the comfy pillow that helps you relax with your iPad. It has like 4 extra flaps of fabric to hold dad's iPad in. It holds it in place so that he can watch History Channel in peace. I would just like to argue that any pillow with extra flaps can achieve this. You don't really need this pillow, and really anything can hold it in place. This or anything with small grooves, it's all you need to hold your iPad. Also, you know, your hands or your arms. I mean, I'm lazy, but even I can still use that. Come on, Dad, stop. Come on. Number 4. Zoomies. The powered glasses that act like binoculars, perfect for bird watchers, hunters, concert goers that are stuck in the nosebleeds, grandma doing her needlework, or grandpa when he can't see the TV. Even though I swear old people can see, it's more of a hearing issue. Every old person I know, it's more, what did you say there, boy? A silly looking pair of glasses that promises enhanced vision, and in reality, well, they were just thick black glasses that not only looked ugly, but also according to user reviews, don't really work that well. And when the enhanced zoom feature is being used, the image is blurry, almost like as seen on TV products only work on TV and don't do what they say on the box at home. Number 3, the better marriage blanket. We've all been there. It's late at night. Husband and wife are getting ready for bed. That's when the man of the house in all his handsomeness rolls over and lets one rip with a thunderous cheek clapping wind. Gross, dude. Not like I'd ever do that, right, Chris? Not only did he just ruin the feng shui of the nightly reading, but he also let the stench in the sheets. Ugh, gross. Well, not anymore. With the better marriage blanket that claims it's made with the military technology to help sift out a husband's, well, barbecue beer flatulence. As much as wives, girlfriends everywhere would be throwing money at a product like that, it doesn't really work that way. The truth of the matter is, Some men, husbands, and fathers have superpowers, and no bedsheet ordered with a bad credit card is going to fix that. Number 2. ShamWow. Does this really need an introduction? In the late 2000s, you couldn't go anywhere without seeing Vince the ShamWow guy, earning fame as the orange rag that cleans up all messes at car and boat shows. Eventually, it earned a commercial that seemed to play non-stop, or at least from my memory it did. A towel that can seemingly clean up any mess, water, juice, cola, wine, and grab it right through the carpet with a simple pat. It's very simple, very beautiful. One for the house, one for the RV, and one for the boat, said middle class America. Too bad it wasn't enough to clean up the legal mess that Vince the ShamWow guy got himself into. Uh-oh, where's the OxyClean when you need it? And finally, in our number 1 spot, sauna pants. Lastly today, we have the sauna pants, the latest in weight loss technology that doesn't work. Oh, what? Your grandma probably had a belt sander version of this that would basically just strap around you and vibrate the person all over to lose weight. But despite all that vigorous shaking, she was still the same at bingo night. What? I know, right? Crazy. Well, the sauna pants boast the same thing. You sit back, relax, and let the sweat do the work. A ridiculous looking pair of pants that has to be plugged in. Sizes don't fit all, which is kind of silly. If people are trying to lose weight, you'd think there would be bigger sizes. Not that I want a pair or anything. And of course, it just doesn't work. Unless you were trying to make a very interesting stain on the couch, then that would work, absolutely. Number 10, the Smell-O-Vision. Oh, this is bad. We've come a long way since the dawn of filmmaking. Imagine all of your movies costing 5 cents and all in black and white with no sound. Ooh, what a time to be alive. Today, obviously, we have color, sound, virtual reality, and those moving boxes at the movies, which honestly, I'm not crazy about. They shake too much. I'm not a big fan. Same with the 3D. Those glasses that we used to wear, we don't really do the 3D anymore. It was bad. Anyway, some people think that's not enough. Some people want more. Enter the Smell-O-Vision, created by a man named Hans Lube. I mean, that's just that just writes itself, doesn't it? The idea is that while you are watching a movie, you can smell the smells on screen. A field of grass, a car chase with burning rubber, a breakfast scene. My issue is what happens if I leave the Smell-O-Vision on and I fall asleep on the couch and reruns of Dirty Jobs comes on? Ooh, yucky. Or better yet, you guys have a Smell-O-Vision and you're watching my bloopers. Uh-oh, stinky. That wouldn't be very good, would it? Number 9, the Virtual Boy. This one's just crazy. I doubt many people would remember this, and in Nintendo's defense, they usually know what they're doing. Well, most of the time. Usually. There's so many remasters that they could do. It's a license to print money. I don't know why they don't. Come on, Nintendo, I'm waiting for it. The Virtual Boy, however, oh boy. I wouldn't expect many to have seen it since the sales were poor. The Virtual Boy was a 32-bit portable console that was basically a headset, except, you know, there's no straps to put it around your head, but a stand so you can play games on it while laying prone? Yeah, I'm not sure. My back hurts just looking at it. Doesn't make a lot of sense. The main selling point was the graphics. It was a big topic back in the 90s. The Virtual Boy was capable of 3D, which was huge for the time. Way ahead of its time. Except it was stereographic 3D and monochrome red. Everything was just shades of red. So watching footage of the gameplay gives me a headache, as I'm sure playing it would. So I can see why laying on your living room floor playing this, well, it sucks. Number 8, the Black Powder Mousetrap. Mice. They're everywhere, and they suck. At least the wild ones. Some people got cute pets. So we place mouse traps to get rid of them. However, sometimes we get our fingers cut, which also sucks. Oh man, it hurts really bad. Or if you're a friend of Johnny Knoxville, it hurts all over. They do a lot of weird stuff with mouse traps. Love those guys. However, one design of mousetrap I think is the worst because it could potentially end your life is the Black Powder Mousetrap. It was essentially just like ye olde cannons of the time. Black powder, big iron ball, except just on a much tinier scale. And in the house, because, you know, having a cannon go off in the house is a great idea. Sure, let's just have that. That makes a lot of sense, yeah. Number 7, the baby cage. Living in large cities can be difficult. Toronto, being the 3rd largest in North America, well, I can relate. It's crazy we're that big. Things get busy even in the suburbs here. There's a hustle and a bustle that small cities and towns just don't get. Now, back in the early 20th century, this was still the case, except there wasn't the same emphasis on park life, biking, and enjoying what fresh air actually is in the city like there is in modern cities today. We've done better since then. And there's nothing more important than fresh air for babies. So that's why in the 1920s the baby cage was invented. Basically, it was a wire cage that hangs out of your 5th floor apartment window, like that massive AC unit that hasn't worked properly since McDonald's ran out of Szechuan sauce. Obviously, I don't need to tell you why this is a bad idea, and not too long after, it was outlawed. It's just don't, that's high up, it could drop, yeah, no, bad idea, not a good idea. Number 6, this one's for the older crowd, the Ford Pinto. Remember those bad boys? I never had the pleasure of being in one or owning one myself, but I swear to God, every time my family got together, the men would sit around and talk about cars that they own. It's kind of a man thing to do, I guess, even though they all had the same conversation the last time, which is just like only a couple months ago. And one model that always comes up is the Ford Pinto. Today, cars get recalled all the time, but in the age of affordable family vehicles and quality, the Ford Pinto stood out, especially because there was a chance the Pinto could burst into flames, which is arguably the worst thing a car could do. Besides not work. I'd argue not working is better than bursting into flames. A few other major issues really set back what I think is a very sleek and appealing vehicle to both mom and dad and the family. Number 5, the spaghetti fork.
Ma, make sure you put my special spaghetti fork on the table. I need to eat my pasta and gabagool.
Italians and lovers of the best cuisine on earth, in my opinion, I love Italian cuisine, get ready to cringe. The twirling spaghetti fork is a battery operated fork that twirls when you push a button, so you no longer suffer the burden of twirling your own spaghetti. Listen, I'm a big dude, I'm lazy, I love staying in after a long week of work and playing video games, probably my favorite thing to do. Yeah, sometimes I order in because I don't feel like getting up, but not twirling mom's spaghetti? Come on, twirling the spaghetti, I argue that's the best part. No dinner with no should require AA batteries in my opinion, I'm just saying.
You bring a fork, why you bring us a fork?
Number 4, the golden liquid. You drink liquid and then it's gonna come out of you. It's simple, it's science. But sometimes other fluids need to be drained. Sometimes you can have difficulty using the little boys' room. Personally, I'm still learning how to put down the toilet seat. I haven't quite figured that one out. How to make pee when a person cannot pee. Portly founding father Benjamin Franklin thought to himself as he was holding a kite in the rain. This is something I learned, which I didn't know, is that he invented the flexible catheter. Yep. Next time you feel a little weird because a tube is being inserted into a sensitive area, you can thank the man on the $100 bill. Invented in 1752 in order to aid his brother with bladder stones. It's strange though, you think of a guy inventing other things, but in reality, it's a really important invention and something that's very common in the medical world today. I just hope to stay healthy long enough so no tube has to go near my founding father. Number 3, flying car. Maybe it's because we love the idea of breaking new ground, setting precedents, or we really just want to live with the Jetsons. It was a cool cartoon. The Mizar flying car was designed by a group of engineers in the early 1970s, using the very famous Ford Pinto, like previously mentioned, because, well, it sucks on the ground, so it's gotta be good in the sky, right? Right, that makes sense. Well, no. Besides the mechanical issues, it would be a hard sell as, well, the average American doesn't have flying experience, or not to mention a runway in their backyard. Plus, we have trouble with drones today. Imagine if it was raining Ford Pintos. Yikes. Mom, there's another Ford Pinto in the living room! It wouldn't go very well, would it? No. Number 2, the pet rock. This one's so stupid. It's just a rock. Legit, that's all it is. A fad about buying a rock and naming it. Oftentimes including those little googly eyes to make you believe it's alive, because yeah, okay. It's a ridiculous invention, it has no use. However, what it actually is a lesson in great marketing. Something weird enough that can be marketed quite easily, sold at an affordable price, and something that is already familiar with the people everywhere. So it actually makes sense, even if it is a bad invention. And number 1, this one, it's just so true, the Segway. About 15 years ago, these bad boys were all the rage. Basically, it's an electric scooter on 2 wheels with a handle to lean forward and lean back, or perhaps reverse. While there was some success in malls and airports, there wasn't that many in public. The main reason? Well, it's no different than a scooter or a bike, really, and well, it kind of feels like an attempt to reinvent the wheel when we don't need it. Also, in 2022, how many people do you know that have a Segway? Seriously. And if someone pulled up in a Segway to your hangout, it'd be kind of weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would be weird.
Number 10, the National Razor. What's a revolution without a little blood being spilt? Wouldn't really be a revolution, would it? France was having a hard time in the 1700s, so they needed a brand new way to get rid of pesky monarchs and anyone who isn't warming up to the revolutionary ideals. And what better way to keep people warm by cleaving their heads from their body? A man named Joseph Ignaz Guillotine suggested that there was a better method for unaliving those who needed to be unalived. A common misconception is that he invented the guillotine, but rather suggested its implementation, where his name would become synonymous with such a terrible device. Basically, you got a wood frame with a hole for your noggin and a large angled blade. Blade drops down from frame and removes the head of state from the governing body, which isn't just a clever joke, as that's what happened to the last king and queen of France. By the time of its invention and the end of its use all the way up into the 1970s, yes, that's right, it was used up until the 70s, thousands of people met their doom to the National Razor. Number 9, party favors in the sky. When you think of air travel today, you think of lots of space for you and your fellow passengers, meals that are flavorful and affordable. Air travel in 2021 is a stress-free, very organized way to travel. But in the 1700s, these luxuries of the sky were non-existent, as there was no air travel. Any international travel was done by ship, which took months at a time and was not a pleasurable experience, opposite to what was described above. Two French brothers wanted to change this, or rather just get off the ground. The two French brothers, Montgolfier, developed and flew the first unmanned hot air balloon on September 19, 1783. This was shortly followed up with a manned flight by Jean-Francois Pilote de Rosier. This was a very strange invention at the time, as this was really the beginning of humans and flight. Number 8. Puckle needs his gat. Ever since black powder first made it to Europe and Europeans figured out you could make big gun that go boom, people have been trying to come up with better and faster ways to make gun go boom. In the 1700s, the biggest issue with muskets and cannons at the time was reloading, or getting multiple shots off. Loading black powder weapons isn't easy. I'd say ask a pirate, but you can't. Those kind of pirates are all gone now. So to fix the issue of the day, a man named James Puckle invented the very cleverly named Puckle gun. Basically, he just added more chambers of shot rotating around one barrel. Although his idea for the time was genius, in practice it wasn't very effective, as flintlock and black powder are really the main issue. Clumsy, lots of smoke, and does not want to work in less than fair weather conditions. Number 7. Cotton Eye Joe. Dear YouTube gods, I am sorry that history is full of not so cool things, but here at Bumblebee, I'm the queen bee, and I'm here to give the buzz to my sweet honeybees. So in the name of good morals, monetization, and not getting smited, I'm gonna talk about your least favorite S word. Back in the 1700s, America was chillin'. They just beat Britain in a war, which alone could be its own video. They were starting to build their own country, particularly in these southern colonies, using forced unpaid labor that you can't leave. Oh, and your boss can do heinous things to you because he owns you. Their economy was agricultural based and stayed that way for a long time. Tobacco being the number one crop at first, cotton was still grown but wasn't as popular due to the processing of cotton being a very labor intensive and difficult process. This was until Eli Whitney's cotton gin, invented in 1794. The cotton gin was a machine that quickly removed seeds and processed cotton, making cotton a very valuable crop since, you know, the people harvesting the cotton are YouTube's least favorite S word. It's a brutal unpaid workforce. Now that it was profitable, cotton boomed and the South became very wealthy. While not exactly the main reason, the South getting rich off Whitney's design and did somewhat create a divide between the southern states and the northern states, eventually leading to the Civil War. Also, apparently plantation owners didn't pay Eli for his machine and he went broke. Just trashy behavior all around, man, come on. Number 6. Yes, I'm a Russian submarine commander. I actually couldn't believe this one myself, but the submarine was invented in the 1700s. Having designs and plans started in the 1500s, the first real use of a submersible vessel wasn't until 1775, named the Turtle, an acorn-shaped vessel with a crew of just 1. To me, it's just hard to think that in the same century we were beginning to master flight and sea travel. I also can't stop thinking that if there was a water ride that existed, it would be pretty cool if you went underwater in like a pod, like a submarine kind of thing. Just an idea for the mouse and the corporation. Of course, it wouldn't be years until after the Turtle that the submarine would see effective use. Or have a Scottish man play a Russian submarine commander in a really good movie. Russian submarine commander. Number 5. Dawn of the punch card. With the Industrial Revolution on the horizon, many things were about to change. Probably the most obvious at the time was factories. While not the first, Richard Arkwright's Cromford Mill in 1771 is what most resembles a modern factory today. Cromford Mill was the first water-powered cotton spinning mill and initially employed 200 workers. It ran day and night with two 12-hour work shifts, the gates being locked at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., permitting no late arrivals. Oh, he likes to keep a tight schedule. Yeah, I can see the beginnings of a modern factory, alright. All you're missing is Bezos and a couple of drones to make it modern. All jokes aside though, these early factories changed the very fabric of not only Britain, but also the world. I mean, where would we be today with all that lovely pollution and those great and fair working conditions? I bet there was benefits too. Number 4. Hydrogen blimps. It really must have been something to witness humans gaining flight. Something so previously impossible was now not only possible, but something that you had to pay money for, which is how you know it was very successful. Large jumbo jets full of croc-wearing tours headed to Slav attractions was still a thing of the future. We're not there yet. This is still the early 1900s. We'll get there. So how do we get people to places in large numbers and still manage to be opulent? Said a bunch of people in the early 1900s. Airships, said Germany, who took the blimp game to the next level. However, a lot of these blimps made a cut in their design, if you will. To help save on money, the airships were filled with the much more cheaper hydrogen, which in large quantities is extremely volatile. The Hindenburg is a great example. Well, we could fill it with a safe fuel, but it's really expensive, but we could fill it with the fuel that could destroy the whole thing, and that's like 10 times cheaper. Well, fill it with that then, why would you not? Number 3, pseudo-cool. Okay, so back in the 1700s, food was really hard to keep. For example, meat is packed with a salty brine in order to preserve it. It either has to be shipped overseas or last long enough through a cold and brutal winter. But plans for refrigeration were being drawn up, specifically the idea of vapor compression refrigeration. Not exactly the fridge that's in your kitchen today, considering there's still no main harnessing of electricity, which makes fridges run, but a brilliant idea nonetheless. While the fridge we know was still far away, it's crazy to think in the 1700s we had serious plans for one. While this was being developed, food was kept near lakes and snows in the winter. Runoffs from mountains were often used to keep drinks cool. I think this is something we all take for granted. I mean, could you imagine drinking room temperature milk or having a beef dinner that tastes saltier than salt? Looking back through history, it's interesting to see how humans persevere. As much as I love food, I don't know if I could stomach food from the past. Thank goodness we don't eat anything gross today. Hey man, do you have any canned cheese left? I'm kinda hungry. Number 2, ebony, ivory, living together in harmony. I honestly thought this one was older than the 1700s, but hey, here we are, invented in the year 1700 by a musically inclined Italian gentleman named Bartolomeo Cristofori. Unhappy with what was going on at the time, he decided to spice it up by changing out a few parts of some common instruments, and started using little hammers that strike quickly on chords and come back in hopes they would not dampen the sound. A little fine tuning here and there, and bada bing bada boom, you got a piano. I would attempt to make a joke about the piano, but let's be honest, no piano, no Elton John. No jazz, no Frank Sinatra. If you're asking me, that's a big problem. Number 1, ABCs. As someone who struggles with reading, this one makes me want to hide under my covers at night. I spent countless hours as a kid learning to read, and oh, man, the phonics lessons were brutal. And thanks to this invention, I can blame it all on the 1755 invention, the English Dictionary. Yep, that's right. One of the most influential too. Written by Samuel Johnson, it took 7 years to compile all the words I can't pronounce. He was commissioned 1,500 guineas for the project, which is worth about £250,000 today. Until the completion of the Oxford Dictionary 173 years later, Johnson's dictionary is considered to be the preeminent English dictionary and a huge achievement in scholarship. I mean, you gotta give the guy credit for writing this. Imagine writing an English essay for 7 years. But then again, £250,000 for some of my writing also sounds pretty good. All I have to do now is learn to read and write.